You know what to do. You've got the plan, you've got the courses, you've got the templates, and then action stalls. Because here's the real shift that you need to make. Self-trust is the real strategy. In the next few minutes, you'll learn what makes action reliable under pressure. And if you stay with me, you'll get a 60-second reset, a 2-minute action protocol, and a 7-day sprint to lock it all in. If you want coaching, templates, accountability to install this all for Q4, then join the Q4 Freedom Collective Sprint Waitlist. It's open now. It closes at the end of September. You'll find the link in the comments below and in the description. I'm Tanya, a neuroscience-based performance and executive coach for women, and I help women rewire their brains to create behavior that generates abundance, freedom, and joy in their lives and in their businesses. So let's work together to create the real asset that's going to compound for you over time with self-trust. I'm sure you recognize this loop. You make the plan, the energy spikes, and then a small task suddenly feels heavy. Delay creeps in, shame starts to take over, and then research starts all over again. The day ends with more tabs open than progress made, and this is not a character flaw. This is a wiring conflict. Your brain is predicting that safety lives in delay. Your brain is a prediction machine, and when a task feels uncertain or high stakes, the amygdala flags risk. Blood flow shifts, the prefrontal cortex loses power, and action feels hard and sluggish. Self-trust, however, grows when your brain predicts that you will do what you say you will do, and that prediction updates through evidence. Kept promises release dopamine, and dopamine tags that action as safe and rewarding. So no kept promises and no updates. I'm going to share with you the field-tested loop that my clients use to become reliably action-oriented. I call this the self-trust loop. Regulate, align, act. You can remember it as RAW. The first step is to regulate, and the goal of the regulation step is to shift the nervous system from threat to task mode rapidly. There's a couple of things that you can do. You can choose any one of these, whichever one feels more comfortable for you. So one is the physiological sigh. Breathe in, a little breath, and then top it up, and then a long exhale. And you can repeat that 3 times. The next one, which you've heard me talk about, do it with me, is the box breath. You could choose this if it works for you. I love this one. Breathe in for 4. Hold it for 4. Breathe out for 4. And hold it for 4. And you can continue to do that until you feel your shoulders settle, your body starts to soften. And then the other one that I personally love, if you can do this, is sing out loud. That also stimulates the vagus nerve and will reset your nervous system and quieten down the amygdala. So put on your favorite tune, move your body, and sing at the top of your voice. The second step is to align. The goal of this step is to make the task that you're facing identity congruent and small enough to guarantee a win, so that the amygdala doesn't flag that it's a risk. So the first part of alignment is to redefine the identity line. And we do this in I am language. For example, you may say, I am a woman who honors her commitments. Or you might even simply say, I always do what I do what I say I'm going to do. It's very simple. A good example I have is I'm always on time, even when I'm not. And then magic starts to happen. So the first part of alignment is to script your identity phrase exactly as you want it to be and write it down so that you can use it over and over. And then the second part of alignment is to make a micro promise, something that you can do in 2 minutes or less. For example, if you need to write an email that's overwhelming you, the commitment that you will make is that you will open the email and write in the subject header, and that's it. The purpose of this is to create a micro win. Or it might be simply to write 3 names on a piece of paper that you intend to reach out to if you're stuck with reach outs. Or maybe it's recording a reel. And in this place, you could, for example, use something like, I promise to just speak one line. I promise to press record and speak one line. It's important that you set a timer so that it's only 2 minutes, because small promise plus easy win equals dopamine. And remember, dopamine updates the evidence store, and the evidence store talks back to the amygdala to say, this task is a safe and non-threatening task to do. Then step 3 is to act. Without action, neuroplasticity won't complete itself. In order to close the loop, the next step is to do the micro action. When the timer ends, close the loop by using one sentence. The sentence is based on your identity script. I said I would record one sentence of a reel, open the email and type the header in it, and I did it. And the result of that was, and this updates the prediction system in your brain. So you'll write when it says the result is, I feel good about this, or I want to write the rest of the email, whatever it is that you're feeling in that moment. And if this is optional, so it's not required, if you really feel good about it and suddenly it's unblocked you and you want to add on another 2 minutes, then add on another 2 minutes with the timer. Because it's important that you end on a high. Always end when you have completed a task, so that your brain starts to associate action and completion with you as a person. And that's how self-trust becomes a virtuous loop, an upward spiral of action and evidence that the brain remembers and updates its evidence store, so that the next time you face a task that seems overwhelming, you will move forward with it. Right now, you might have some objections happening in your head, and that's totally normal. For example, you might be thinking to yourself, 2 minutes, but this is a mammoth task. Why am I only committing to 2 minutes? It's important to understand that the 2 minutes is just the doorway. This is like getting your foot in the doorway. And once you are in the door, that's when it unlocks the action and the momentum to allow you to move forward. Without that initial 2 minutes, you're going to stay in a blocked state. Or you might be saying to yourself, well, I don't always do this. I skip days. So I'm going to break the cycle and break the pattern. And here's what's important to know is that self-trust compounds through streaks of kept promises. So even if you miss a day, the goal is not perfection. The goal is start again from the beginning. And just keep your streaks going in the same way that you'd keep a streak going for your exercise. Simply start again, and every day teach yourself that I'm a person who does what I said I would do. Or you might be simply frozen and saying to me, well, actually, you don't understand how big and important this is, and I stall. If this is a very big task and a very high stakes task, it's even more critical that you break this down into the 2-minute components. It's the old story of how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Because if you're not doing that, the brain cannot see past and cannot predict the end of the task. And what you want to do is put the brain into a state where it can predict what happens at the end of 2 minutes, and then it will release you and release the energy for you to complete that 2 minutes. And if every 2 minutes is moving forward in your task, the task then starts to gain momentum. So it's important that you have a safe first rep. And that's what we're doing here by breaking it down into 2-minute increments. I remember working with somebody who was totally blocked in doing their reach outs. And they had set themselves a really big goal for how many reach outs they were going to do in their business. And they got on a call with me and said, honestly, I'm stuck. Every time I sit down to do those reach outs, I'm just completely overwhelmed. So what we did was we said, okay, let's start. And let's start with today. All you've got to commit to is doing one reach out. And then tomorrow, do 2 reach outs. And then the next day, do 3 reach outs. By the end of the week, she was able to do 5 reach outs in a day in the morning. And then she stayed with that until she could feel comfortable and safe doing 5 reach outs a day. And then she started the process again. 5 became 6, became 7, until she got to her goal of doing between 15 and 25 reach outs in a morning session of reaching out. And it was done in increments so that she could teach herself how to complete the task and that it wasn't a threatening thing to do these reach outs, and then to grow the number of reach outs incrementally. She had huge success. She grew her customer base, she increased her sales, and it all felt good to her. She no longer felt scared or stuck or stressed. And all of the shame that builds up when we don't do what we said we were going to do had gone away. And it's important to remember that a brain that's in shame finds it very challenging to learn. That brain is shut down and isn't able to learn. So these little micro wins remove all the shame and realign our identity with somebody who has integrity with their word. So I promised you I would give you a 7-day self-trust sprint so that you can actually lock this in and in practice practically rewire your brain and realign your identity. So today you can get started right away today and use the RA framework: regulate, align, and act, and then close the loop with that sentence. So if you need to rewind the video and watch that framework again, do that and make notes in your journal, and then pick a task that is currently overwhelming you. And maybe you've got several of them. Start with one. Don't try and fix all the stucknesses, and then track it on paper with notes. So when you first start doing it, decide what you're going to break it down into. Write down your identity statement. Decide what your 2 minutes are. And then go and do it and close it. And keep notes of how you are feeling as you complete each task. This is an important extra piece because by actually handwriting, oh, I closed the loop and I feel good about it, that is it's an extra fuel to the brain to start restoring that as evidence. It's going to store the written word more than just the thought word. So you may have an idea that, oh, I'll just remember that I completed the loop. It's not going to be good enough. Write it down. And if you will comment down below the word trust, then I will send you a simple checklist to help you with this. So in the comments, just type the word trust and I will send you a very simple checklist that's going to help you with your 7-day reset. And then I'd love to hear from you at the end of your 7 days, how your self-trust and how your confidence has grown and your action and momentum has improved. In the Freedom Collective, we are starting our Q4 Freedom Sprint on the 1st of October. The waitlist for that sprint is open. If you'd like to get on board now, early, I'll put the link that you can jump in and join we're in progress with our Q3 sprint. You're welcome to jump in and join that. However, if you want to get on board for the Q4 sprint and end your year by closing up those goals that you set in January, then click on the waitlist, add your name to the waitlist. The numbers will be limited for the Q4 sprint, so do get your name on the waitlist. We are creating a really powerful cohort of people and some very, very high quality coaching. So if you want to get in first and you want to make sure that your name is on the list, join the waitlist right away. And then if you liked what you saw today, the next step for you is to watch the next video, which is to stop overthinking. Overthinking is not a personality flaw. So watch that video next because it pairs perfectly with today's topic and you'll get another view of the RAW framework in action. I'll look forward to seeing you here on Monday. I release a new one of these videos every single Monday. If you love this stuff, if you're fascinated by the neuroscience of high performance and success, then subscribe, put your notifications on so you never miss a thing. And I would love to hear from you in the comments. What did you find most fascinating about the whole self-trust idea? Have a happy day, guys, and a happy week. See you next week.